Hi, I'm going to just go through some exercises with the gym ball, which will hopefully be helpful for pregnancy, suitable for most stages of pregnancy, but this video is made with the later stages in mind. My ball could do with pumping up a little bit, so with your gym ball, just to make sure it's the appropriate size for your height. Ideally, you should have your hips a bit higher than your knees, which mine would be if I pumped this one up, but I haven't done that yet. So you're going to just sit on your ball. You could have the legs parallel, or if you feel more stable, have them a little bit wider apart. You might want your feet on a non-slip surface, or you might want to have be close enough to a wall that you could grab on if you felt unstable, but both feet are staying firmly on the floor. So whether you're parallel or a bit wider is fine. I'm going to just have hands on my thighs to try and help me find a little bit more length through the spine. And even as you sit on here, it just feels very natural to begin to move the pelvis around. So you can do some really gentle pelvic tilts, but just try to make sure we're not slumping down into them. So keep that length through the spine, and you can just begin to try and curl that tailbone forward and then just returning to neutral. So see how that feels, keeping that length through your low back. And then you may also want to just shift your pelvis side to side. I'll show you that one from front on as well. So I'm just shifting the hips side to side, just moving the pelvis around the thighs. See how that feels. Possibly you might want to join the dots and just do almost like a circular pelvic clock movement. Sorry for any sound effects that might be picked up on here. And then you can do a few each way. Still sitting really nice and tall. Good. And then you can also do a really nice seated cat version. So I'm going to have hands on my thighs. I'm trying to find as much length as I can. So as you breath and center, I'm going to just start to soften into a lengthened seated C shape without slumping up. And then you could inhale, find neutral, perhaps a little bit of extension if that suits you. Otherwise, just pausing at neutral. So it may not be a massive range of movement, but it should just feel gentle and a nice release for your back. And then we can just settle on the ball. We're going to just do a brief hamstring stretch. So I would bring your legs more to parallel if you can, if they were a little bit wider, and just slide one leg away. So my heel is still on the floor. So it's a little more unstable. So if you feel too wobbly, hands perhaps onto the wall, or you could maybe try and put your feet flat on the floor, but it might be tricky to find that length through the back of the leg. So see what works for you. So sitting really tall, perhaps hands on the ball or maybe hands on the thigh, engaging your center, lifting your bump, and just take a little lean forward. If you can, flex the foot, so toes up. You might just feel a little bit of a stretch down the back of that lengthened leg. So you could stay with that for a couple of breaths. And then you can glide back up again. Check you're centered, have a little wiggle if you want to. And then we'll try the other side. So I'm going to just lengthen the other leg away. Trying to keep the foot flexed if possible and you feel steady enough. Searching for length through your spine. And then you can take a little lean forward. Perhaps staying for a couple of breaths. Just notice how it might feel different one side to the other. And don't force that stretch. Just be gentle with it. Okay, a couple of breaths and then you can glide back up. If they feel tight, you might want to repeat that another couple of times. And then I'm going to grab the band. Just a light resistance band. You could do similar with a stretchy scarf or an old pair of tights. So sitting tall, and if you want to have that slightly wider position, that's fine. If you feel more stable, you could do this standing as well. So I'm going to just wrap the band around the base of the rib cage, so kind of bra strap area. Elbows tucked into your waist, forearms up. So trying to open across the chest and make sure we're not poking the chin forward, so we're keeping that length through the back of the neck. So dumb waiter, lovely for opening out the upper body. Especially if your posture changes and you start to feel a little bit more rounded and hunched up. So you can just inhale, begin to open, and try and open from the front of the chest rather than elbows and wrists, and then we exhale to come back. Okay, so I'm just inhaling to open and exhale to come back. So watch as we do this, we're trying not to lean back with the spine. I'm just breathing, sitting tall, If your neck feels a little tight, it's nice to add on that you could open one arm out and you just turn your head away as you inhale and you exhale to come back. Good. Very nice. And if you wanted to add on a little bit, you can just slacken off the band slightly. So it's a little bit baggier to start with, and we'll head towards a Cleopatra. So you inhale to open, and then I'm going to just extend the arms out to the side. They could be palms up or palms forward, and then you're drawing back in to return. Let me just reverse to show you that one a little better. So you inhale to open, exhale, reach across the room. Inhale, draw back. Perhaps imagine you're squeezing something under your armpits. So just feel width and openness, still keeping that length through the entire spine. Good. And this should feel really nice to open out, perhaps towards the end of the day, especially if you've been at work. So you can maybe do between 8 to 10 of those. And then we'll unravel the band, and you can choose whatever tension suits you. But my band is really long and light, so I'm going to just double it up, and I'm going to hold it about shoulder width apart, and either fingers long or you make a loose fist. We want to try and keep really good alignment through the entire arm. Just beware that we're not kind of moving too much from the elbows or the wrists as we go into this. It's just a ribcage closure, so I'll show you from the front and from the side. So try and find this openness across the chest and maintain that we discovered with the dumbwaiter. So as you next breathe out and center, just begin to float your arms up. So watch the shoulders aren't creeping up. You've got that connection of arms into the shoulder joint, and then you could inhale to lower. Let me show you that one from the side. So as you breath and center, light tension on the band, I'm just going to float the arms up and then inhale to lower. So we're trying to do this without leaning back as you go, and get that release from the shoulders. If the shoulders are feeling a bit tight, you might prefer to have the arms and palms facing inwards, perhaps wrapping the band around your hands, or you could do this without the band, or you could use light weights or pins of beans or something instead. So if that feels all right for your shoulders, we can add on to little pole raises. So you can leave the tension as it is, or if you need to slacken it off a little bit, that's fine. So still sitting tall, shoulder width apart. So as you breath and center, you're just going to glide the arms up, set the shoulders, inhales. If you're going to pull that band apart and just draw it towards your head, and then you can exhale, extend, inhale to lower. Okay, so let me show you that one sideways on as well. So I'm trying to sit really tall. So as you breath and center, we're floating up. Inhale, widen and draw down. Exhale, extend, and then lower. So experiment with what tension of the band feels good for your shoulders. Should feel nice. Just watch out that when you pull on the band, the arms come down, the wrists begin to flick back. Perhaps the band is a bit tight, and maybe you need to slacken it off a little bit. Good. Very nice. So do those, and as many as it feels comfortable for you, but don't have it too heavy a load, just to feel mobile and open. You could also do that movement without the band, so you could float the arms up to your ribcage closure, palms facing forward or palms facing in. I've done that on the exhale, and as I inhale, I'm going to do the same movement without the band. You could draw the elbows a little closer into your waist. I'm imagining I'm squeezing something under my armpits, and then I'm going to just lengthen back up. So more of a chicken wings type movement, but can be really nice to open out those shoulders and the upper body if that area is suffering. So there's some nice shoulder mobility work there. I'm going to just pop the band to the side. We've done some of like our seated cat and our pelvic tilts. Also important to mobilise your thoracic spine. So you can still sit tall, you could do this standing as well. To begin with, perhaps just have hands across your chest or arms in prayer position to really just make sure that you're moving from your thoracic spine and not just from the shoulders at all. We're trying to isolate this movement. So inhale, begin to find length. As you exhale, just connect to your centre and let the ribs, neck and head just gently spiral to one side. And you can inhale, come back to that midline, and then exhale, other side. Inhale, come back to that midline. So you're trying to keep that length as if there's a roller or person stood behind you. You're not sort of shifting side to side. So you inhale, find that length, ribs, neck, head. And then we're calming back. So generally we're doing this rotation on the exhale and lengthening or unraveling on the inhale. So you're not forcing it round, that you shifting into that low back. It's just your mid, upper back and thoracic spine, just to loosen this up because this gets really tight. If it feels okay, you could add on just a little bit more challenge with the arms, so perhaps a bow and arrow arm type position. So arms could be shoulder height, palms in, or they could be hands together. I'm going to start here. Watch the shoulders haven't crept up. So you're going to just inhale, draw one hand across the other arm till it gets to your chest, and then exhale, you could begin to rotate and possibly open that arm. I'm going to breath to stay, and then ribs bring you back and the arm just comes to close. So other side, inhale, draw that arm across, hand to chest, exhale, rotate and open, breath, ribs bring you back and arm comes to close. So just see how that feels. Watch that the shoulder doesn't start to creep up as you go. You don't need to force the arm back. You're still focusing on that thoracic rotation and opening up that upper body. And then we can release down if you need to shrug or circle the shoulders, no problem. And then as well as your rotation, we're going to try and do a lateral flexion of the spine. So I'm going to have arms down, perhaps one rests on the side of the ball, or you might prefer one hand on the thigh of the side that you're not. I'm going to raise up. So I'm going to just inhale, glide one arm up. So arm and palm turns into the midline. Check the shoulders not quite right up to your ear, and the arms will be slightly in front of you. So hand here or hand on the ball, and then you exhale. You're going to try and lead from the crown of the head over to one side. So you should just feel a little bit of length and space down the side of the body. Breath, and then try and find a little bit more length as you stack back up. So other side, you can just alternate. Inhale, glide up. Exhale, up and over. Breath, and then we're gliding back up. So generally, things to think about with this one, that even as I'm lengthening out on this side, I'm trying not to squash the underneath side and watching that shoulder's not creeping up. Take that breath, try and let the space between the ribs fan open. And just see what feels good for you to breathe into that area. It might also feel nice to add the tiniest little bit of rotation to that. So I'm going to show you just sideways on. So your side reach is just like you're stuck between two panes of glass, and that might be enough on its own. Or the other possibility is, I've mentioned, you could add a little bit of rotation. So you'd inhale up, exhale over. I'm going to just think quarter turn, ribs, neck and head, and take a breath, and then unravel back to that side reach position, and then stacking up. So other side, inhale up, exhale over. Perhaps inhale that quarter turn rotation, just ribs, neck and head, breath to stay, unravel back to side reach, and then we'll stack back up from there. Okay, so that would be up and over, little quarter turn and breath, unravel to side reach and stack back up. Other side, inhale up, exhale over, little quarter turn, breath to stay, unravel, and then we'll stack back up from there. One movement we haven't done much of just yet is beginning to extend the upper body. So we'll just do a little bit of that here. So you could stay on your ball for this one. Either, we've done a little bit with the cat, you could have hands on your thighs, and your extension would be you just begin to glance up and shine your gaze and breastbone up. So I'm trying to open up that upper back. Breath, and then lengthening to come back again. If it's comfortable for you, you can maybe bring the hands behind your head. So I've got thumbs at the base of the hairline, elbows, shoulders soft, using the hands to lengthen the neck. And I'm going to then just use that support as I open up the upper body, as if there's someone's hand we've gone overboard between your shoulder blades. Breath, and then lengthening back up. So see how that feels? Maybe it's nice to do this opening up as you inhale and returning as you exhale. You might want to do it on the exhale and then just stay for an inhale. So we're not just flinging the head back, just think of shining your gaze and your breastbone upwards and forwards a little, and making sure that we're not kind of dumping that extension into your low back. So that can stay as neutral as possible because your bump might well be pulling you into extension anyway. So we want to just try and open up the upper body with length and support. So just release back down from there. I'm going to stay on the ball because it feels really comfortable, but you can sit on the floor or be standing as well. So using a squidgy ball or a cushion just between your knees. Going to sit nice and tall, hands on thighs or hands on the side of the ball. And as you breath and centre, perhaps just gently squeezing the over ball or cushion between your knees. So a little bit of inner thigh activation, and then you can slowly release that. And using this, then the inner thighs might help you just access the pelvic floor a little bit. So as you next breathe out and engage your centre, do think about the pelvic floor muscles drawing in and up as you're squeezing and then slowly releasing. So generally I'm engaging that on the inhale. I'm engaging that on the exhale, and I'm going to release on the inhale. As you get used to it, you might be able to keep a gentle connection as you breathe in or out, but we're not trying to brace or hold or put any force on. It's just coordinating that recruitment with your breath. And you could think about those pelvic floor muscles maybe like a elevator. So as you're breathing out, you can maybe think of lift doors coming to close and then traveling upwards. And then as you inhale, you're slowly lowering down however many floors, and then just releasing and opening at the bottom. Or another image you might prefer is thinking about a flower. So you could begin to engage that pelvic floor as you exhale, closing and lifting up, almost like a flower, maybe closing up at the end of the day. And then as you lowering it down, maybe just think of the flower beginning to open as you release. So I hope that some of these ideas are helpful for your practice, just to keep you moving and feeling well. Let me know how you get on. Thank you. Bye.